Same day, different shirt, baby. I live with 4 people and need to take advantage of the time I get alone. What's up, everybody? My name is Moo. I am a college student who loves books, and I want to talk about them. So here we are. I don't know why I'm being so hyper. This is just how I am. I'm smiley and hyper and all that. So if you like that, subscribe. If you like books, subscribe. Yay! I don't know how to do this. This is still my first ever day filming with the intention of uploading them on a YouTube channel. So I'm excited and I'm ready to share my love of books with the world and pretend that they're listening to me, because that's my main goal. New year, new delusion that people are paying attention to my life. So the book that I decided to review today is Marley by Joh Clinch. Look at this! Before we review the book or anything, I just want you to look at this cover art. Wow! It's shiny! The production value! They say don't judge a book by its cover, but if the cover looks like this, I think you can judge it pretty well and be like, wow, that's a good cover. Attractive covers grab attention. There's a reason why they make it look pretty, and this is a pretty cover, and it says a lot about the book, you know? And if you haven't guessed by now, the book is about Jacob Marley, you know, Scrooge's business partner in A Christmas Carol. I thought it was fitting to start reviewing this book because it's right after Christmas, and I don't care that the Christmas season is over. I gotta talk about this book. Technically, it's not a Christmas book, so I can review it whenever I want. I just happened to read it right before Christmas, and now I want to share it with you all. So let's get started. The summary of Marley is as follows. Marley was dead to begin with, Charles Dickens tells us at the start of A Christmas Carol. But in Joh Clinch's ingenious novel, Jacob Marley, business partner to Ebenezer Scrooge, is very much alive. A rapacious... Hey Google, how do you say rapacious? Jacob Marley, a business partner to Ebenezer Scrooge, is very much alive, a rapacious and cunning boy who grows up to be a forger, a scoundrel, and the man who will be both the making and the undoing of Scrooge. They meet as youths in the gloomy confines of Professor Drab's Academy for Boys, where Marley begins their twisted friendship by initiating the innocent Scrooge into the gentle art of extortion. Years later, in the dark heart of London, their shared ambition manifests itself in a fledgling shipping empire. Between Marley's genius for deception and Scrooge's brilliance with numbers, they amass a considerable fortune of dubious legality, all rooted in a pitiless commitment to the soon-to-be outlawed slave trade. As Marley toys with the affections of Scrooge's sister Fan, Scrooge falls under the spell of Fan's best friend Belle Fairchild. Now, for the first time, Scrooge and Marley find themselves as cross purposes, with their business interests inextricably bound together with the instincts and with their business interests inextricably bound together and instincts for with their business interests inextricably bound together and instincts for secrecy and greed bred in their bones, the two men engage in a shadowy war of deception, false identities, forged documents, theft, and cold-blooded murder. Marley and Scrooge are destined to clash in an unforgettable reckoning that will echo into the future and set the stage for Marley's ghostly return. Meticulously crafted and beguilingly told, Marley revisits and illuminates one of Charles Dickens' most cherished works to spellbinding effect. Ta-da! That took me too long to read. I don't usually struggle with reading, but wow, I was not doing well there. So I think with that beautifully crafted summary out of the way, you can tell the gist of the story. Clinch takes a much darker look at the evil business practices of Scrooge and Marley, and I think that that's really cool. He really goes deep. He really tells you why Marley is evil, why he was given those chains to begin with. That is awesome to me. The novel focuses on Ebenezer Scrooge and Jacob Marley pretty much the same amount. They follow Scrooge's early life from his time at the school to his courtship with Belle and all his business practicing with Jacob Marley. It gives a realistic account to how he would obtain a fiance, because I'm pretty sure if any of you watched A Christmas Carol recently, you would kind of go, how? Really? Are you sure? Like that, because that's definitely what I did. I watched 4 different versions of A Christmas Carol this year. It's safe to say I was obsessed with it because of the book I was reading. Anyways, it showed his entire life with his sister and his mom and his fiance. And then it showed Jacob Marley's side, who was, to put it simply, a con man. He took multiple identities. He was a very charismatic character. He was able to convince and trick so many people into doing his evil bidding. And that's really cool. I even like how Joh Clinch incorporated scenes from A Christmas Carol into Marley that makes sense. For example, one that comes to note for me is when Belle cuts off the engagement between her and Ebenezer. I think it was done in a way that was adapted to fit the book. It's not word for word like the Christmas Carol, but it's also similar enough where you can believe that it happened in the same universe. So that I really enjoyed. In fact, I enjoyed the entire novel. I legitimately like it better than I liked A Christmas Carol. However, when you bring up the continuity with A Christmas Carol to Marley, I do have some problems, and I have a lot more questions than I do answers, which is a problem for me. For example, Marley's descent into death. I don't want to spoil anything. This is going to be a non-spoiler book review. However, Marley figures out he's going to die, and then he kind of just stops being the evil man he was. And I find that a little bit hard because he's supposed to be evil until the end. That's how he got his chains. Because if he changed, like Scrooge did at the end, theoretically, Scrooge is not going to get the chains that Marley had. So even though Marley's intentions didn't really change, his mindset didn't really change, he really just stopped doing the evil acts instead of like actually reforming his ways. I still think that that's a bit of a problem. Another thing is, I didn't see Scrooge as a bad man in this book. Sure, he was shifty and he did things that he knew weren't good, but I don't see him as that evil. Marley says in A Christmas Carol that if he doesn't change his ways, he's gonna end up in chains even heavier than the ones Marley is wearing. But in Joh Clinch's novel, he doesn't really do anything to warrant that warning. He's decent to his fiance, he's slightly aloof, but he's not terrible. He can be a little bit mean, but that's more of a lack of social skills rather than mean-spirited. I just don't see Scrooge carrying heavier chains than Marley in this universe, and that is a problem for me. Another thing that frustrated me was the ending. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a little bit underwhelming. Can you know it? Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a little bit underwhelming for me. It just didn't become what I wanted it to become. Not gonna lie, I was hoping for some really scary stuff, you know? The ghost of Marley is meant to be terrifying in A Christmas Carol, and I just didn't get that in this, which is upsetting. Endings can make or break a book for me, so the fact that it was just underwhelming is upsetting. This book is pretty rare in which it is so well written and so interesting that the ending doesn't matter as much to me, which never happens. I can love a book until the ending, and then the ending is not one that I like, and I will never pick it up again. It's not like this for Marley. I really like it, and I would probably read it again if I had the time, but the ending just wasn't ideal for me personally. Despite those criticisms, I really liked Marley. I thought it was a wonderful book, and again, I like it a lot more than I liked A Christmas Carol, and I can say that because guess what? Charles Dickens is dead, and he won't be sad that I said that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but I'm gonna leave it in the video. Anyways, I really liked Marley. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5, maybe a 4.2, because there were some things that I didn't like about it, as I mentioned, but overall, I really enjoyed reading it, and I think that the most important thing about a book is that you enjoy reading it. I personally read as escapism. I read so that I don't have to think about all the bad things in the world. It's a time for me to escape for a little while. So as long as it's done that, I can't really complain. Marley brought me into a world that I could be invested in, and that is one of the highest things I value. Now for who I recommend Marley to. I recommend Marley to people who liked A Christmas Carol, people who like a historical fiction, people who can handle dark topics. Because what I forgot to mention is Marley has some dark topics. As you heard in the summary, it talks about the slave trade, and that is probably the most depressing part of this book. There's also a little bit of murder, so not great if you don't like murder. But if you can handle all that, this book would be great. If you like history, and if you like A Christmas Carol, or one or the other, or both, who knows? I think you would like this book. Anyways, that is it for this video. If you liked it, like it. If you want to comment something, that'd be cool. I am really enjoying making these videos, so if you have anything to say in the comments, I'd love to hear feedback. Anyways, this has been Moo. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. I wish you could read